It's This Week in Google. Coming up next, we have Lamar Wilson. We have, of course, Gina Trapani. We have no Leo, but he's coming back next week, and we're all going to have turkey real soon. But it's not a turkey of a show. It's a great show. We talk about inside stuff from Lamar on Google Plus and YouTube. We talk about Google's problems around the world. We talk about the idea of a Google phone company. Can't wait. Stay here, and we'll see you and Leo this week and next week.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode number 173, recorded on November 21st, 2012, YouTube Plus.
This Week in Google is brought to you by Ford, featuring Available Sync. Now you can control your media player with simple voice commands. Enjoy your drive while you easily search and listen to your favorite songs. Check it out on the 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by American Express Bank FSB, offering a high-yield savings account, the perfect complement to help you reach your savings goals. To learn more and open an account online, visit personalsavings.com/online savings. Member FDIC.
This is Twig, This Week in Google. Today is November 21st, 2012. This is episode 173, and I am not Leo Laporte. I'm Gina Trapani, standing in for Leo, who's still on vacation, and I'm excited to be tag teaming hosting today's show with my trusty co-host, Mr. Jeff Jarvis. Hey, Jeff.
I'm in the pink, as always.
Jeff is a professor of journalism at my alma mater, the City University of New York. And we're also really excited to be joined by Mr. Funny YouTube guy. That's how I think about him. Lamar Wilson. Hey, Lamar.
Hey, how are you?
That is such a classic Lamar face.
Yeah, it's just, I'm going to do the all show.
Excellent, excellent. Lamar is a YouTube partner. You can find his hilarious tech lifestyle videos at youtube.com/Lamar Wilson. That's 1 M and 2 R's. You should totally check him out. And I'm so excited that you're on the show today, Lamar. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've been here, so it's great to see you all. You're all looking youthful. You've had a baby, and it's crazy.
I know. A lot has happened. It's true. A lot has happened since the last time we talked.
Congratulations on that. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I hear you had you got to visit the Googleplex recently, and you got to be in on a super secret meeting with all the really higher up people in charge, and you've got all kinds of cool secrets to share with us about Google, about the inner workings of Google. Yeah,
let me make sure my blinds are closed so they don't try to shoot me. All right, yeah. So we're set. So last Wednesday I went to the Googleplex. Now, what's funny about this is I'm friends with Vic Gundatra, who's the senior VP. This is through Google Plus, and I've kind of established a friendship with him. So I sent him an email maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I know YouTube and Google Plus are starting to do this merge. I said there's going to be some backlash. You need to talk to some YouTube people about this. And he wrote me back and was like, "What backlash? YouTube partners they love this idea. They're all on board." And I was like, someone is protecting you from the truth. I said, this is not true. So I sent him an elaborate email and just broke it down for him, the issues. And about 6 hours later, he messaged me back and says, "We have to have a meeting. Either you come up here or we do a Google Plus Hangout." Now, here's where the idiot in me didn't get it. I chose to drive 6 hours for a 30-minute meeting versus just doing a Google Plus Hangout. But I wanted to see the Plex. I'm new here to California, so
but Lamar, did you go to the swag store?
I did not. I had very limited time, and by the time I got there and got the meeting, it was time to head
back.
That's
the reason you go ahead and go, so you can be wearing T-shirts today. It'd be great stuff.
I am going back sometime in January to get the real tour. I was guaranteed that. So
but I'm telling you, go to the swag store. They got great stuff. They got an Android ski hat with little ears out of it. It's wonderful. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes. So I met with my good friend Vic, and I got to say he is so gracious. He's over so much stuff, and to have me, a user, come by and talk to him was just really wonderful. So I sat with him his chief of staff, and a great guy from, I believe his name was Shashir from YouTube. And he just wanted to hear my point of view on it. So I just kind of want to relay that to you all, since you don't really get a lot of YouTube news here. Basically, what YouTube is trying to do is merge, as you all know, they try to merge Google Plus and all of their items together into one cohesive thing. The problem on YouTube is that as they're slowly starting to do it, there are a lot of problems that creep up, whereas a lot of people who subscribe to us don't get our videos. They don't, things get broken. And we do make money off the videos as partners. So that definitely impacts us, and it impacts Google because they don't get their percentage off of it. So I would think it would be in their interest to kind of fix those problems. And what I told Vic is I sat down and said, do you want to hear the truth? He said, yeah, be honest. I said, the YouTube partners by and large hate Google Plus.
Wow. You didn't sugarcoat it.
No, I didn't, because I get so much feedback from it. It's not that it's a bad service. It's kind of how it's rolled out. If you remember when it was rolled out, it took about 6 months to get the teenagers on board. And as we know, on YouTube, the majority of the audience is 13 through 17. So imagine me all excited about Google Plus as I was, saying, hey, everybody, come join Google Plus. It's going to be great. And they're like, we can't join. And that kind of killed a lot of the buzz. They didn't really take that into consideration. They tailored toward the geeks, but didn't tailor towards the long-term plan, which was the YouTube people. So that created a sour note right at the beginning with it. And, YouTube keeps pushing Google Plus. And now I need to say, I enjoy the service. I use it. I'm a big fan of it. But most of the people who use YouTube, that's not where their audience is. Their audience is on Twitter, is on Facebook, Tumblr, increasingly Instagram. And so to ask for a fifth network is a little bit too much for some of them. And you think about some of the bigger partners, whether it's iJustine, Phil DeFranco, or even to a lesser extent myself. We've been on the suggested user list. We've been blessed with that. I got 1.3 million people. Phil DeFranco has close to 1 million. I think iJustine is around there. The problem is we post to Google Plus, and I know for myself, after a day, I look at the analytics or two, 500 people out of 1.3 million people have bothered to see the video. Now, and I mentioned that to Vic. I said, something is wrong with this. I said, it's not, maybe I'm just horrible with videos, but I have to think that a percentage, some people would just click it just to see who this dude is. And I said, people are signing up, but they're not staying around. I said, so there's little incentive for a YouTuber to push this if nobody's there. I mean, you think about, I just think she puts a video up, maybe 100 people will plus one it. She has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. There's a problem there that no one's really talking about.
So Lamar, what do you just context here before you go on?
Absolutely.
What do you understand the integration is going to mean in terms of the YouTube experience versus the Google Plus experience? Oh,
I'm definitely going to get to that in just a second. Yeah, absolutely. So, so when YouTube starts mentioning this merger, obviously it's alarming. Anytime YouTube has done anything, we've been up in arms and gone crazy about it, because we're losing subscribers, we're losing all kind of things that are getting broken. One thing that they've done is with the new outline or the new dashboard that they're coming out with, is that they're removing the ability for you. Let's say, Jeff, you're a subscriber to me. You won't be able to see my videos right away unless you explicitly click a small button that says uploads only. And their reasoning is, we want to, let's say Jeff is only subscribed to 2 people and he's already seen those 2 people's videos. We don't want something blank to be there. And so, but the issue is if I'm subscribing, which means I want to see it, I want to be able to see everything versus some random videos that I liked or some other people commented. So one of my suggestions was just put the recommended videos after it. So it's a continuous stream. It's little stuff like that that are problems for YouTube subscribers. Only 10 or 12% of our subscribers see our videos. I have 130,000 subscribers. If I get 10 to 15,000 views, it's a good day. That's a big number. That's a big number. So to answer your question about the merger, after I said all of this, Vic explained it like this. First of all, you can now, like I did, merge your Google Plus with your YouTube so you can use your real name. I think that's great. It saved me. Now I can use my real name to market, or you can choose not to. But I do like that integration. One of the things that Vic and they told me is that they want everything integrated. So here's an example, Gina. Let's say someone types in Gina Trapani, on Google and Google search. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if on the right side it popped up, Gina is on YouTube, subscribe now. Gina is on Google Plus, follow, or circle now. The buttons are just right there for instant follows and subscribers. So that would actually build our numbers. That's something they're working on for the merger, which is good.
Right.
Another thing which some partners may or may not like is that they eventually want to merge circles and subscribers together.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a confusing for the mainstream person. It's kind of confusing to what does subscribe mean? Does it mean I have to pay? That doesn't mean what because we hear subscriptions from magazines. We know what that means.
Well, here's the other thing, Lamar. One of the secrets of Google Plus, not so secret, but one of the obvious things about Google Plus is you have 1 million people following you, circling you. They don't see everything that you put in. The algorithm filters. The algorithm tries to give people what the algorithm thinks they're going to be interested in. So there's no guarantee that when you say, hello, world, the end of the world is coming, that those people are going to see what you do. Whereas I think in YouTube, if I subscribe to you, I'm pretty much assured to get every new video because I chose to subscribe to you. It's a different verb, but it's also a different system.
That's part of the problem is that we think that's how it should be, but I couldn't get a clear answer from the guy.
They're coy.
Said, do 100% of the people who subscribe to me, will they 100% get my video? Because if they do, then I understand, and it's my fault that I need to change my content. I'm not appealing to them, but I am convinced that 100% of people are not getting the videos.
On Google Plus, I can guarantee you because otherwise, I send out some really wonky crap, and at some point, somebody in Thailand would say, "You're boring me." Google Plus is choosing not to send that. When I spoke to Google Plus team, about 30, 40 people, when I was last in Mountain View, I kind of alluded to this, and they kind of, in that smug way, nodded, I was onto something there, that I was right. And it is algorithmic.
Okay.
There ought to be a way. Now, what you can do, of course, is that somebody can go in on you and push the bar over and say, I want to see everything Lamar has. But that requires a real effort to do that. And you got to know it exists, and you got to go do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting. This is why it didn't. Isn't this kind of the same reason? I feel like newsfeed ranking is kind of the new SEO war. You know what I mean? Like, wasn't this why Cuban said that he was upset about Facebook? He was leaving Facebook because people weren't seeing the team posts, and he didn't want to have to pay to have the posts appear.
Which, of course, they weren't before anyway, because Facebook also operates algorithmically in what it feeds to you in a news feed. You're absolutely right, Gina. Whereas, but the other secret about this is Twitter. I don't even use my Twitter main feed anymore because it just got too big and I don't want to groom it. So I have a Media Wonks feed and I have other lists that I have. So the truth is that we all think that there's some numbered audience of the stuff we put out there, and it's not true.
Whereas
not true, at least with old days of blogs and web pages, you did get server stats to know who opened your page and who wasn't a robot doing that. In all you're absolutely right, Gina. In all of the feed stuff, there's absolutely no guarantee. I suspect, Lamar, tell me if I'm wrong here, I suspect that when someone subscribed to you on YouTube and they looked at their subscriptions, they would see you at least. You were guaranteed that YouTube wasn't going to decide not to give me episode 267 of Lamar because I don't think you're going to like it, Jeff.
I can't. That's the problem. I can't get a concrete answer on that because
on YouTube, it's on the old YouTube.
Yeah,
on the old YouTube, the way it was, the way you're concerned about preserving, if I subscribed to you and I went to my subscriptions, I would see every episode. Is that not true? The old way.
That is my understanding, yes. That's how it was. And it was, I mean, the sub boxes would be broken sometimes, but at least we knew the people who subscribed. It was less people at the same time. We have to understand that as well. It's a lot more people.
So now, I think that on the Gina's absolutely right. And so what happens is that these companies will come to you. Twitter is doing it in its own way, saying, well, not that many people really see you. We won't say that, but we can charge you to really make sure you're being seen. Facebook is doing the exact same thing. Google hasn't done that yet. But from both the producer's angle, but especially from the user's angle, Gina, I want to see everything you post. If the algorithm show me everything you post and you think, well, I wrote this thing and maybe I didn't plus Jeff Jarvis in it, but I thought he'd be interested in this and he's silent. What a jerk.
Right.
That breaks the link that these social things are supposed to create, right?
Yeah, I mean, the verbiage is interesting. When you say subscribe, if I subscribe to a magazine like old school style, I don't expect that I'm only going to get the issues that the company has determined that I might like, based on the information they have about me. I assume that I'm going to get every issue, just like if I subscribe to a feed in my newsreader, which is also kind of old school now, right? I expect that I'm going to get every post in that feed. So yeah, you are kind of taking the risk with if they're going to merge subscriptions and circles as the content creator, you're really at a disadvantage. I mean, if you look at it though from Google's perspective, like they have to build this stuff. There's a small group of content creators and there's a vast community of consumers, right? So they have to optimize this for the consumers. So from their perspective, they only want to show the stuff that they think is interesting. So if Lamar does a video on Android and Google knows that I'm, a big Android fan and user, that should pop up in my news feed. But if it's about something about dogs, maybe it won't be. I mean, that puts Lamar at a disadvantage, but it's supposedly a better experience for me. I mean, just kind of trying to argue the other side.
Sorry, wouldn't there be a fairly simple fix, though, that function that says you could move the bar over to the right and see everything somebody says, if you just kind of reminded me of that regularly, it would have two features. One is that I could say, I want to see everything Lamar does. I want to see everything that Gina and Leo do. But it also tells me, oh, gosh, I guess I'm not seeing everything from everybody else, and it would be a clearer experience, I think, at least. So, Lamar, what do they say to you? Did they nod at you and act sympathetic?
Yeah, they completely acknowledged it. The YouTube engineer, says, well, hey, we realize that only a certain percentage get videos, but he said most of your video views will come from search, from related videos, and and from sharing. And that's just kind of that wasn't a concept, I wasn't.
No, it's not at all, because you want to have the whole point of you existing as a career and the point of YouTube backing you is they want you to be a brand. And it shouldn't come up through SEO, through links, through search. That should be ancillary to you. You should have a loyal following, and that's where your value is, right?
Exactly. So what I told them is like, look, this is, if you're going to do it like this is fine. But the mistake that you all are continually making, which is a Google mistake, is they throw something out there and then try to explain it later. And I got the YouTube guy, who's a great guy, to acknowledge that and say, he says, I need to do a better job of letting my staff know so they can let you know. Because the YouTube staff, and I said, just they don't do a good job when we have these partner meetings. It's the same old. You ask them a direct question, they can't answer it. Either they can't or they won't. I don't know what the issue is. But the thing is communication. If they told us this is the 10-step plan to the merge with Google+. See, what he told me is that we're only at 10%. And if we're only and so there's going to be problems. Why not tell everybody that? So we know that, hey, there's going to be some growing pains right now. We're not at 100% of this merger. That'll be helpful. One more thing I suggested is that, look, it doesn't have to be me. It could be Justine. It could be Phil DeFranco. It could be those 100 original channels that some of them are getting cut, but some of them are staying around. Somebody needs to be a champion for this Google Plus and for YouTube. So get a liaison to say.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I've been arguing that somebody who doesn't like me wrote a column in the New York Times last week arguing that we need auditing of algorithms, and I disagree with that. There's this kind of demonization of algorithms. But what I have said for a long time, when it came to disputes over AdSense or over Google downgrading a site because it was presumed to be spam, that there needs to be an appeals process, not just to Google, which in those cases has the power of God, but to some kind of jury of your peers, some kind of group. And Google just doesn't think, humanly enough for that. But I absolutely agree. I think if they had kind of a users council, a producers council from YouTube to be able to, it's not their company. That's not a vote. But it's just so you can hear and know what's going on, and also try to give some input. Like you drove 6 hours just to give them free advice.
Exactly. So, I obviously, would I do it? Would I be the liaison? Of course I would. But hey, get someone with the big audience. Make those 100 original channels. Force them to have to use Google Plus, and I don't mean just putting their videos there. That's not using Google Plus. That's throwing it SEO. You know, using it, integrating with it, getting to like it, so that
build your brand and community there, right? Which is what they want, and they want to know who likes you, and they want to know who likes you and likes something else, and that's where the value to Google comes in all this. Let me ask you a different question, Lamar. On this whole kind of announcement that they were going to cut a bunch of channels and fund a bunch of news channels, was that like trying to work at a newspaper these days, where you wonder if you're going to be the one to get fired? How did that all work?
Well, you know, it doesn't affect anyone like me because I was, you know, these were specific channels that were funded and given angel investing. Well, I'm probably using the wrong word, but they were given specific funding from YouTube. And I saw off the beginning, I looked at the list and I just knew which ones are going to be cut because, you know, I'm getting more views than a lot of them and I'm not getting a penny from Google to do anything. So I knew they were going to be cut. There's going to be some more specific ones coming in. They're going to tailor. One thing I mentioned I was a little upset about is they didn't have a tech vertical at all. You know, all of these channels, you know, you got a Shaq Network, you got the Madonna Dance On. I said, where's the tech people? But, you know, maybe they'll work in that on some point. But no, it's not something I was worried about. They're trying to build these shows to be like TV. The reason why so many of them are failing, in my humble opinion, is for that reason. YouTube audiences don't want TV when they go to YouTube. They want YouTube. They want personality. That's one of the reasons I changed my content to be more personable because I was trying to be a show for so long, and shows just do not work on a whole on YouTube. There are a couple exceptions, but most of the time it just doesn't work.
You absolutely need to be an ambassador for the content creators on YouTube. I mean, it's clear that that Google needs community ambassadors, both producers and consumers. But Lamar, I nominate you because you know what they need to do. So it's interesting. I didn't realize. So there are YouTube partners who have a relationship with Google that involves an advertising relationship. But then there's this second level where producers get funded, like production gets funded. So like Google doesn't give you money and says, make an episode. You just make your episode, but then you have a deal with them and make revenue through advertising. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my deal. That's 99% of YouTube's deal. You know, this thing would happen last year. They were called, I don't know if it's called the original channels or premium channels. Okay. Each of them got anywhere up to $1 million to make a production. And, you know, and then Google would keep all of the money that it would make off advertising. A lot of them just didn't make the numbers. They weren't getting the views.
Oh, so that was kind of an advance. Google would keep all the money until you made back your advance and you'd make over that?
Absolutely. And what was weird is that it should be in YouTube's interest or Google's interest to push those channels, but I can only tell you of a few of the names of the channels without looking at the list. A lot of them just weren't pushing. That's where a lot of the complaints are privately coming from. Is that, hey, you all are canceling us, but how many times did you all promote us? So
talk again for a second, Lamar, about the secrets of success for a YouTube channel. I mean, personality, but are there channels that have content? Are they purely entertainment? What are some of the things that make, to your mind, a business success on YouTube?
I think personality is first and foremost, and that's where a lot of people fail. That's where I was failing for a while because I didn't, it's about the audience. And as much as I'm a control freak and like to control my stuff, I have to acknowledge that without the people watching, the channel, it doesn't exist. So that's first and foremost. And yeah, you gotta have great content. I know that's cliche to say have great content, but you really have to have something that appeals. So if I have 13 to 17-year-olds who majority watch me, which they do, I have to appeal to that group. If it's a bunch of boys, I better not do too many videos on One Direction. Have girls, I better not make it too geeky and tech heavy. So you have to look at I look at my stats almost every week to try to tailor the videos to specifically match those people. And a lot of it is just luck, Jeff. I'm gonna be honest. You can have, you can have everything down and you understand marketing 100% on YouTube, but a lot of it just comes down to luck, who shares you, and who promotes.
Well, I thought you said looks. I honestly thought you said looks, and of course that was. I know why you succeed then. You're the handsome guy on YouTube. I get it.
He is one handsome fellow.
Yeah.
have more numbers than that.
It sounds like you're saying, Lamar, to have a successful YouTube channel, which I think is the goal. I think this is the golden rule for any kind of content online, is knowing your audience, interacting with your audience, using analytics to figure out what your audience wants, giving them what they want, but also remaining true to yourself and doing the content that you're passionate about. Because if you're not passionate about it, that's gonna come across, right? But like striking that balance between your ideas and your inspiration, but also knowing your audience and serving them what they want or what you think that they want. Connecting with them.
What you and Jeff does, is it any different? It's the same principles for blogging or for this show. You know, you do things to connect to the audience, and that's why it works for you all.
So well, we also sit in the penumbra of Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
And you know, somebody at my school said last week, "When's Leo back?" You know, he doesn't get any views without Leo there. I thought, well, thanks a lot. But it's true, you know.
Well,
it's
Leo's
Leo.
a magnet. Mm-hmm.
And he really has the you know, that spirit. And last week it's hard to get into it. Last week when I sat in Gina's chair, you know, for the second substitution, it's a different mindset, right? It's a different mindset of thinking, oh my God, I got to keep this thing going, and what's happening, and you know, somebody talked enough, and all this kind of stuff, and to be friendly and inviting, and those are all the things that Leo keeps in his head that we don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, we got to have opinions, we got to talk, we got to do this, we got to do that, but we really, you know, don't have to do that. Does YouTube ever try to give you advice about how to be better, succeed more, get more audience, anything like that?
Yeah, they do. I've gotten personal calls from, you know, YouTube reps, or they, you know, where they have these partner meetings that are a lot general. They've also come out with a playbook, which gives first-time people the basics on how to do your titles, how to optimize for search. But I want to be honest, that playbook and all of those general things work for the very, very beginner. After that, you have to play ball. I'm not saying you have to do anything unethical or whatever, but you have to play ball with everybody else. You try to be 100% up and up and do it exactly by the book, it just will not work. They want everybody to do it like that, but that's not you know, the realistic thing on YouTube. You got to do what you got to do to make a living. And for the longest time, I've been, you know, the super moral guy and haven't jumped in. So it's frustrating to look at other people who fly past me who aren't doing half of what I'm doing as far as quality, but you know, they're doing side steps.
Yeah, you got to hustle. You got to hustle. I mean, I think when you write online too, it's tough when you see other publications doing crazy slideshows and flyover ads. You know, the kind of page view trickery that people do, and they get crazy page views, but they're doing it. But you know, you got to hustle, like you said. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I imagine that Google's playbook for getting better at YouTube is using various tools, you know, to share and to, you know, promote. And I'm sure that they offer analytics tools and that kind of thing. But yeah, it seems like that would be the basics, right? And then once you're in it, you gotta do your thing.
Yeah. So yeah, and just to make sure Google and everybody is aware. I mean, I have no issues with Google Plus. I have no issues with YouTube, other than better communication on what's going on. And I think that came across to Vic. He really appreciated it, and Shashir. And while I talk to them, man, like I said, I love the services. I really do. That's how I'm, you know, primarily make a living. So we just want it to be better, because, like, as I told them, guys, if you don't fix this, you lose money, and I lose money. I said, don't you want to make more money? And so
they should appreciate it. They should appreciate it greatly, as I'm sure they do. And as you say, Vic's a very gracious guy. And yeah, you went out of your way, 6 hours out of your way, to give them attention. All right, one last question. Did you at least get a free lunch out of this?
I get a free lunch. I got to say, I did, while I had Vic there in the office. I was like, you know, dude, I'm here 6 hours next to 7. You know, I'm just saying, I'm here. It didn't work. It didn't
work. I think there's a larger question here about the merge, about merging YouTube and Google Plus. And I think we talked about this a little bit when you were here last time, Lamar. Is this idea that you have this really established community with rules and kind of social norms at YouTube. That's a very established community. And then you have this kind of new thing, Google Plus, and you can kind of imagine how these are going to merge, right? So thumbs up become +1s, comments become actual Google Plus comments. becomes, subscribe become, circle, and it all becomes kind of the same thing. But, you always risk, I think when you have someone like you, Lamar, who's embedded in the community and who loves the platform and who makes a living off the platform and who, engages in the platform, there's a difference between being the user and being the creator. I mean, the folks at Google, they've always been very analytical and maybe a little divorced from kind of the human aspect of these tools. I mean, in their mind, merging the two makes a lot of sense, and having this sort of this consistent experience, I think is the word that they've used across all Google products. That makes sense in the long term, but there's always that risk of that backlash of the established community. I mean, YouTube's been around, has it been 10 years? Oh, almost 10 years, right? It's just tough when you start changing the way that things work for the consumers and producers. And I just think in that process, it would behoove Google, and I hope that that someone there is listening and they take our advice to have sort of a ambassadors and a liaison. And I'm glad that Vic called you up for a meeting. I'm glad you went up there, but that shouldn't have to happen after you wrote an essay to him in an email. That there should be more open communication. So I hope to see that happen. And I'm interested to see what the next. Do you have any idea what the next big change in YouTube, the plusification of YouTube is going to be? Do you have any idea?
I'm thinking they're really working on the real name thing. Like that's the thing they're pushing, even for channels to have a page on Google Plus. Now already people are not liking that idea, because to them it's like they're forcing us to use this service that we don't want to use. But I think they want to establish, like Facebook, to have the real names so they can weed out. Just like what happened with Facebook Connect hit TechCrunch. It weeded out a whole bunch of garbage immediately. And I think they want to do that for YouTube comments and things. So I think that's the next step. And then
that's a really important point. You're right, because the comments on YouTube are a pain.
They're horrible. Right. So classification there probably would really improve those, right? I mean, in theory.
And a +1 button. I'm an advocate for the +1 button versus thumbs up and thumbs down, not because I'm a weenie and can't handle thumbs down. Is that it doesn't really do any justice. I mean, there's a reason why Facebook hasn't had it or Google doesn't have it. If you like the video, you +1. If you don't, you leave, get out, go somewhere else. So that's my reasoning as a creator. So I think the signals from +1 would definitely benefit us in search. So I'm looking forward to it.
This has been a great report. I really appreciate this, and you're sticking around for the whole show, so we can talk about lots of things. Gina and I are kind of sharing Leo duties. She's opening the show and closing the show, and I'll try to keep some things going and go to commercials and stuff. But before we do that, Gina, ready for the changelog?
Let's do it.
Chad.
The Google changelog.
I tried to talk slowly for the sequel there, but go ahead.
A little bit of a pause. That's okay. A couple of new things in the Googleverse this week, even though it's a short week here in the U.S., so Thanksgiving tomorrow. We got updated Blogger mobile apps for Android and iOS. If you haven't looked at Blogger in a while, you can now post about how annoying your Uncle Bob is at Thanksgiving dinner right from your iPad or Android device. The apps are getting landscape support for composing posts, sharing to Google+, unsurprisingly, international support for 30+ languages, and iPad support. So you can find those in the Play Store and the iOS App Store. Google Drive has a couple of newish little things, just little things. You can now search for files by the person who shared them with you. And you can also launch Google Earth map files, .kml and KMZ files right inside Google Drive and view them on the web. Google Takeout, which is the Data Liberation Front's product, which helps you export your data from Google products, just got 2 new products added to it. Google Latitude, you can now download a JSON file with your location data. And in Google Reader, you've always been able to export your data within Reader, but you can now export an XML file. You've always been able to export your subscriptions from Reader, but now you can export an XML file of your list of starred, shared, and following items to JSON files as well, to an XML or JSON file, excuse me. This was a new feature in Google+, which was kind of new to me, and I didn't actually see any articles written about it, but I just happened to notice it. If you go to a person's profile page in Google+, at the bottom of the page, all the way at the bottom, there's a little button or a little area that says Add Private Contact Details about this person. So if I go to, say, Jeff's page, Google Plus, I can say add private contact details. I can say, oh, Jeff's son's name is this, and we met at this conference, and he co-hosts Twig with me, and those are just private contact details, and those integrate back into Gmail as well. So I really love this because I circle people a lot on Google Plus, or I follow people on Twitter, and then later on I forget, where did I meet this person? Why did I follow them? So this is pretty cool. So this is a kind of go ahead.
When you do add those, is it labeled so that it's clear to you what's private, what's not, so you don't have kind of the Facebook confusion of, oh my God, I don't know what's public? Yeah,
there's a line right above it that says these are only visible to you.
Beautiful, smart.
And it shows up in your Gmail contacts as well, those details that you added. So I like that. And now I want this in every social network I use. And finally, Google Earth and Google Maps got some new high-resolution aerial and satellite imagery. If you check out the Space Needle in Seattle, you can see it, some of that, and new 45-degree angle imagery for cities around the world, U.S. cities and 20 more international cities, Luxembourg and Romania. And you can check those out at Google Earth and Google Maps. And that's all I got.
That's a great changelog.
Excellent.
Chad? Google's also been pushing that as shopping season, as insane shopping season starts, they have a lot of maps up now to malls and shopping areas and stuff on there. I don't have a good segue. So speaking of shopping, you take your credit cards with you. So that makes us think of one of our dear sponsors. And here's our partner, Leo.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Hello. Excuse me. Jeff, Gina, would you mind if I bop in here briefly to ask you, are you saving money? Gina, are you saving money for Edda's college education? Yes, I know. She's a newborn right now. But I got to tell you, take it from me. I got a 20-year-old and 18-year-old. She's going to be in college before you know it. And if you don't start saving now, you might be in trouble. So I got an idea for you. If you're saving for a rainy day, if you're saving for college, if you're saving for health care, I know a lot of us just put a portion of what we earn right in the bank. Maybe you're trying to save up for a nice Ford, or a down payment on a house. I hope, we're all disciplined enough to do it, but can I make a recommendation? A great way to get more from your savings, the American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account. High yield means you're going to get more than your bank offers. It's nice because it integrates perfectly well with your bank. You don't have to change financial institutions. It's an online savings account. So you can link it to your existing accounts, automatically transfer money as needed, back and forth. You can keep track of your balance via a phone or the web 24/7. There's no minimums, no fees. You got to like that. And you get that high yield and great phone support whenever you want to talk to someone. This is a great complement to your existing financial tools, and this is probably where you should be putting that money for Edda. The American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account. It's an FDIC-insured account offered by the American Express Bank, FSB, for your savings needs. Now, how do you find out more? It's simple. personalsavings.com/online savings. Personal savings, one word, .com/online savings. I'm typing it in. I just want to see if I got the right place. There you go. You're going to like this. You're going to really like this, especially the high yield. Give it a try today. Personalsavings.com/online savings. That's the high yield savings account from American Express Bank, FSB, member FDIC. We thank Amex. I've been trying to get Amex to be on this show for a long time because what was it, Jeff? You said I'm a member since 1981. You said like 1974. Wow. And we thank them so much for their support. Back to you, Jeff and Gina.
Isn't that great? Leo keeps us in the conversation even when it's disembodied.
I really got to set up one of those accounts for my baby. I'm all stressed out about college now. I'm going to ask Leo for a raise. That's what I'm going to do.
So I think Leo's landing momentarily. So maybe, God knows, maybe he'll dash in at the end of the show if we go long enough. But I suspect he's just getting in now. So you'll see Leo next week. Fear not. But for now, you got to see him in commercials, which gives you more reason to watch the commercials, eh? All right. So other news. I am jazzed about the word that Google and Dish Network are reportedly talking about Google starting a phone network with Dish. I saw Charlie Ergen, the head of Dish, at an off-the-record business conference last week where it's no big deal. He talks about it all the time. He owns a bunch of bandwidth now, and he's been doing deals and this and that kind of stuff. But he could start a phone network, and what a perfect partner. Wouldn't you just jump onto the Google telco? What do you guys think?
If they do it right.
Yeah.
And they have an opportunity to do it right.
They do. The word is that it would be a data only, right? With phone would just be the add-on. Yeah, that's VoIP. That's Google Voice. Isn't that the starting definition for us of doing it right, is to recognize that what really matters is data? After Sandy here, AT&T, nicely enough said that they would forgive overages for minutes and texts for those of us in storm-ravaged areas. But, the truth is we don't care about that. What we care about is data.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have that Verizon plan that the share everything or whatever it's called, where the voice and text is an afterthought. You get it unlimited free, and I love that because it's really putting emphasis on the data. That's what we're all using. So I would love phone over. I never want to have a landline again in my life. So everything needs to go over data to me.
Totally agree. And honestly, this is the kind of the dream, is getting the data plan with the extra minutes. I'd like to get unlimited data and then just pay for whatever minutes I use, because I just use so few. And honestly, with Google Voice, you don't even really need to pay for text. I'm pretty much a full-time Google Voice user, and so you send text messages via just your data connection. So that would be nice too. Although Google Voice has its problems, it doesn't support MMS, and so and for a while there were some delays here and there. But yeah, I would be really excited. Google could do this. Is in Google's best interest, right, is to focus on data, right? Because Google...
Right, so let's talk about two things. First, you said if they do it right. Gina, define what right means. What would be the ideal Google telco?
Well, thinking completely from the way that I consume services on my phone, and what I would want pure data or unlimited data, or I'd want to pay primarily for data, like I said, with minutes as an add-on, with text as sort of an optional thing, and I don't want a freaking contract. I don't want to be locked into a contract for a few years. I want it to be more like in Europe, where I could just be like, hey, I could switch to this phone or that phone. Or this gets into a carrier issue. Obviously, if I was with the Google carrier, I wouldn't. I want them to create a package that's so compelling that I don't want to have to go anywhere else. I'd want it to be, I prefer GSM just because I travel internationally. And I just want them to undo all the crappy things that every other carrier does to you. And I'd want them to do it because I'd want them to want to compel me to connect to Google everywhere and anywhere that I am.
Right. So Lamar, what about you? What makes the ideal Google telco?
I think what Gina said is perfect. Like, I want unlimited data. I don't want to have to think about metering. It's one of the things I hated about voice, and I'm glad that's unlimited. But I hardly call anybody, or I don't have friends, so people don't call me. So I just want unlimited data. I'd pay $100 flat for it, and just don't meter me, and then allow me to have access to I use almost everything Google. I don't have Android, but I use everything, all the services that Google offers. So I just want easy access to that and no restrictions or anything of that nature.
All right, so let's go ahead, Gina.
Multi-device consideration, right? I want to be able to say, look, I've got a Chromebook, I've got a Nexus 7 tablet, and I've got my Android phone. And how can I share those connections between them without hacks or without crazy apps? Or look, just I'll pay a little extra reasonable price, whatever. I just want you to know who I am, what all my devices are. I want all my devices to be online. I want this to be one reasonably priced package that's data centric, and I don't want to feel like I'm getting screwed over for data I'm not using or minutes I'm not using, or that I'm losing, services that I didn't use. I just want to feel good. But the multi-device issue is definitely one. I think
that's absolutely right. Yeah, and I think it's clever if they don't position it as a telephone company, because the telephone is the old way. No. This is a data company. This is Wi-Fi on steroids. This is just reuse. And by the way, you can make phone calls, because who cares about that? Who does that anymore, right? And so it becomes a data company. So two things then about the business environment. And the first is to Google's interest. I've said on the show before that it was Google's services, not apps really, but services, that drove me to Google hardware. And I'm really fully there now. I'm going to talk about this on a later show, but I am living through Android and Chrome, and it's working. And because I use Gmail, Maps, Calendar, all this stuff, and it drove me to the hardware. And now I don't look back at Apple at all. There are now probably Scud missiles coming into my home for saying that. But so Google can drive us to using their services more. I've said on the show, too, this is a signal generator. Google will learn more about all of us. It's in their interests. Now, the interesting thing to me, though, is what does this do to Google's relationship? Just as the hardware that they're making with a round robin of hardware makers to try to also keep Android going in that ecosystem, what does this clearly do to their relationship with the telcos? Does it free it from that? Does it mean that Verizon might stop selling any Android phones? Where do you think this can they not do that because Android is too big now and Google's cleverly gotten that big? What do you think the reaction will be of the existing telcos to a Google Tel?
Oh, they're going to be terrified of this. They didn't like, they don't like the ideal of Google Voice to begin with, and for them to now step into their territory is going to put some pressure on them. I mean, I can imagine Samsung at some point saying, that OS we were thinking about making for our phones, maybe we'll go ahead and make that to please the carriers and sidestep Android, or, do something like Amazon did, which is steal it and make it your own. But I think there's going to be some trouble. Google is stepping into too many areas. One of our upcoming stories is about power. They're stepping into that. It's like, where does it end? And I know a lot of people are worried about that.
Yeah. All right. So, by the way, I received my Google Nexus 4 8 gig only, and I am such a neurotic SOB. I've still not opened it. I'm still going around. I got a mini SIM. I'm waiting. Do I want to do it? Should I send it back? I'm happy. I'm really happy with my Google Nexus. Is it a waste of money? Should I wait till later and get a 16 gig? I don't know what to do. I don't know what you got any advice? Should I open it? Not.
I don't know how I don't know how you have a brand new shiny Nexus 4 in your presence and you have not opened it. You have much better willpower than I'd ever have. Oh my God, aren't you dying to just break it out and peel that? I love to peel the thing off the front of the touchscreen. It's like the best part. Do it. Just open it.
All right. Maybe I'll get it in the break. I also fear, though, I've got to switch SIMs. I'm afraid that in that process, the last time I did this, switching from my iPhone to the Google Nexus, they took away my unlimited data. And then a really, really nice guy, Mr. Hugo, who works in an AT&T store in the Midwest, out of nowhere, saw me on Twitter and said, I can't stand it when we make that mistake. And he said, I'm going to fix it for you at work tomorrow. I didn't even know that he went in on his vacation day to do this. God bless you, sir. And yeah, it's really, really great of him. And, companies should have a million Mr. Hugos, and then life is good because then they actually cared about the customers. So anyway, I'm just scared of switching SIMs, and I'm going to mess it up, and I'm neurotic as heck. Would you open it, Lamar?
Yeah, it would have been open and the box demolished and everything. I would have been very excited just to play with it. It could have some LTE. I'd be a little upset about that, but I won't argue.
Yeah, I'm okay with that though. All right, so some other Android stuff while we're on this. Have either of you gotten an invite to Ingress? Or you can't, Lamar, because you're not on Android. Gina, have you gotten an invite to Ingress?
I haven't, and I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that because it looks really cool and interesting. I have this wariness. I think I have the same neurosis that you have about gadgets, about games. I'm always worried about
Ingress. Describe what we know about Ingress for the folks.
It's like losing my whole life. I'm so scared. So I have not gotten an invite, although it looks really, really cool. Have you gotten an invite? Have you played?
No, I just said it, and I'm not a game guy at all, but it looks really cool. Do you want to describe what it looks like, Gina?
It's I don't know that I even really have a good from what I understand, it's sort of a real world massively morgue game, massively multiplayer online role playing game. Is that correct? So it runs on your phone, and from what I understand, it gets you outdoors and you sort of explore your neighborhood, and there's some elaborate plot about the rebellion, and there's missions and quests. That's all I really know about it.
It comes from the same company, or the same now division of Google. It was going to be a company that created the tourist app. What's it called? I always forget it.
Field Trip.
Field Trip. So, it's a general strategy, apparently, of Larry to get you to look up.
Look up. To get outside and look up. That's all about Google Glass.
Right?
Google Glass, yeah.
So, Lamar, you were going to say?
There's a huge problem with this. You're asking geeks to go outside, and I'm not sure how that's going to go over well for them, so... I'm worried about what's going to happen.
I read a blog post where someone said, a big gamer said, he got an invite and wound up going on sort of an impromptu 2-mile walk around his neighborhood because he was so engrossed in play. So
wow.
that sounds really. That sounds good. I mean, sunblock people, so especially Southern Californians. But yeah, it sounds really fun, and I do. I want an invite, so maybe I'll start.
I actually got an invite, guys.
Oh, Chad.
Yeah, I did.
Started playing?
Yeah, I have. Now, I only got it here. Let me see if I can find a camera. There we go. I'm far, far away. But I only got this invite this morning, so I'm still on the tutorial mission. What I'm doing right now is I'm walking around the world finding XM, which is this sort of matter that I need to move forward in the game. And so, oh man, let me see what I can do here with showing you guys what's going on. This is going to be
There's also a video of it if you wanted to show that. Or...
Oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, here. Let me show first. This is what
Ingress, it's time to move. Oh, there you go. Good.
Right. So this is what I have right now, and it's basically just a map, and there are little XM orbs around, so you can see them further off here in the game. Sorry, this is very impromptu. So these little orbs are things that I need to grab in the world. So this trek would be what I would do to pick up these XM orbs. And there's a few over here. Once I do that, I'm not sure what I'm gonna really do with these orbs, but that is what I'm in the middle of doing right now.
So you need to go outside, physically go outside and do it, or will you on the app? So you have to go out in Petaluma and walk down the block?
Yeah. So it harkens back to the navigation in Google Maps. When you do walk navigation to get to a place, you have the normal arrow and sort of a bubble around you. So I would be walking around Petaluma trying to get these orbs.
Lamar's so right. You're going to suddenly see guys you've never seen outside with skin paler than mine, walking around trying to look at the world.
The problem that I had with it just in this tutorial mission is to figure out where I'm going to pick these up. I'm actually walking down looking at my phone. On top of that, I didn't have my headphones in, so I was walking, and then it was like, mission update, you blah, blah, and it started talking, and there's people around me. And that felt really weird, that my phone was telling me that I had just gotten a mission.
Dork.
Right, exactly. And then on top of that, it looked like I couldn't turn off my phone screen, put it in my pocket, walk in a direction, and pick up these orbs. What I really wish would happen is it would say, wow, you've moved. Here's your history. This is the history that we've captured of you. You went from your house to work, then to a place to get some food, and then back to work. During that thing, you picked up this many orbs. That'd be great, but it looks like right now that functionality isn't in it, and it is the biggest battery drain.
Ooh, yeah. Well, basically, it's turned you into Pac-Man.
Pretty much, yeah. Except a very immobile Pac-Man that has to look at their phone to make sure that they're going towards the correct orbs to get.
So I'm wrong. You don't look up. You
look down at your phone the whole time. Now, this is just the tutorial mission. The video, which if I was good, I'd have up already. The video, it looks like you will go to maybe art structures or points of interest that might be pulled from the Field Trip app. And then you may have to do something there. You may have to look at it, or you may have to say something that you've learned. Maybe there's a plaque that you have to read to input into the app. It's still open. I haven't gotten that far, so I don't know.
It's interesting. Google's really never been into games like this before. True. This is the first game other than Google Doodles that I can think of that Google ever made. And on top of that, it's a fully featured app with voice actors and a complete user interface. It really seems like this is a step beyond. And here, let me go ahead and play the video that I have. It is hard to tell where they're going to go with this, what their game plan is, or maybe it's just to have fun and to push the boundaries of Android and what
the mobile space can do.
There was a beef in the chat room said that Google needs you to visit places they need more info on.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, go to a restaurant, and then what you have to input is the opening and closing time of that restaurant, and then you get XP.
Or if you think about something more like Sandy, like missions that help people, like a situation like Sandy, go to this place, pick up these supplies, drop them off at this place.
That'd be cool.
Real physical supplies. That would be amazing.
Amazing.
Go to the homeless shelter, give some soup to the homeless folks, and then head back home.
Right. Thanksgiving morning, if you spend time at the soup kitchen, you get XP.
Right.
For example.
Right. And so right now in the video, it looks like you can put down nodes and then increase your and then these two people meet each other like they're playing the same game, like that would ever happen. And maybe you can increase your reach amongst the city. It seems like if you were into it and instead of a Facebook check-in, whenever you landed at a bar, you opened up Ingress and started playing and putting down nodes, it might be compelling. Just this tutorial mission might kill it for me. That the fact that I have to go on a big long walk and keep my phone on the whole time and look down at it to make sure I'm collecting orbs, that might just be the killer. I might not be able to get past that.
So Gina, are you tempted or not?
I am kind of tempted. This sounds like a perfect game to come pre-installed on the Google Glass, right? So you don't have to look down, and then it kind of happens automatically. I mean, the only other game I've ever played, quote unquote, that I've ever played that's really gotten me outside or doing different things outside is Foursquare. I go to a lot of new different places with Foursquare. I've been thinking about when you have. I think gamification is a really powerful thing. And so when you think about something like this, and you think about something like Google testing same-day delivery from stores, and you think about the way that Google, like I said about Sandy, like creating tools for people to help one another, find one another in times of crisis, like you really can see how, imagine a time when, I've got a few hours, something like a TaskRabbit, I've got a few hours to kill and I'd like to make a little extra money, and Google just being like, here, go do this, pick this up, drop this off at this person, this person's house, and then we'll just drop $10 into your Google Wallet account. They've really kind of got all the different pieces to program humans to do their bidding, which is kind of weird, but kind of fun as well.
Fix Street View. I actually looked up my for the thing you're going to mention at the end of the show that I won't mention yet, but I looked up my school's address, and Street View had my school's address wrong. Mm-hmm. And you could correct stuff.
Yeah, you can correct stuff.
Lamar, are you a gamer?
Yeah. Console mostly, but I don't think this would be cool until it gets on the iOS platform. So happen.
Well, then we're going to go right to the video of what we Android people think of you lemmings. You ready with that, Chad?
I am.
Oh, there's your problem. It's an iPhone. How did you even get here using Apple Maps? Nah, I got a Droid. Why is your screen so small? It doubles as a portable drive. And I didn't even need to jailbreak it. Oh, I love this widget. I can hold it any way, and I still get full reception. Full reception? Full reception. I can play slot cars in my dungeon and still get full reception. Douche. Cheap. So cheap. Cheap. Best camera phone ever. With Steve Jobs dead, Apple is going downhill. Apple's going downhill. How do you even see anything on that tiny little screen? It's so cute. Let me root your phone. Look at me. I'm Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. It's not copying if it's better. I run the world. I'm Steve Jobs. I hate Apple. So durable. Customizable. Oh, I love this camera. What are your specs? I'm telling you, it's all about widgets. Oh, this is my favorite widget. Even the magazine is twice the price. What ROM are you running? Dude, check out my ROM. No, it's a standard micro USB cable. It's just a standard micro USB cable. Oh, shame. Pity it's not a standard micro USB cable. Ugh. If only you had NFC. I'm controlling the slot car with my phone. Just kidding. Siri's a bitch.
So that it was. I'll clean up the title for our rating. Stuff that Android people say, and I think it's all true, right, Lamar? It's true. Your phone is just so small. It's not as sleek. It doesn't have new things. It's the snob's phone. It's not the phone of the people like Android, which is growing and growing.
Wait a minute. Who was the real snob in that video? Was it the Apple guy? Apple guy didn't say one word because we don't care. Yeah, I'm actually upset because I wrote down in my outline to do a video like this, and now they've done it, so I have nothing to do.
Oh,
well,
scooped.
You could do things BlackBerry guys say. Sorry. Hey?
I thought you were going to say things black guys say. I was like, I can do that one.
Marco Arment in his new magazine, he did a story in the latest issue called Anti-Apple Anger. Why are Android fans so angry about Apple? And he was saying that, basically saying that in any article talking about how good an Apple product is, that there are just legions of angry Android fans in the comments saying things like this guy was saying, or whatever. And I don't know if I'm just hanging out in the wrong places or what, but I don't think it's that bad. Is it this bad? I
actually don't think so. But what happened? I see the opposite, Gina. Whenever I dare criticize Apple, oh my God.
Exactly.
I get down, right?
Yeah. I see the same thing. And I don't know if that's because I'm just tuned into, you're kind of tuned into one side or the other. I mean, I find these things really funny. But the tribalism over what hardware and operating system you use, it harkens back to the old, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC time. It's so weird. It's just such a funny, tech cultural thing. And I think it's absolutely worth making fun of. There are a couple of lines in that video that were pretty funny. If only you would have an NFC to micro USB card.
A standard USB cable. So true. All right, now I'm gonna go break open my Nexus 4. Speaking of which, the Nexus 4 is still out of stock. The Nexus 7 with cellular went out of stock, but now is back. You can buy a Nexus 7 of any size. You can buy the Nexus 10, but you cannot have any hope of buying a Nexus 4. I was trying to buy the Chromebook with the cellular. Amazon just said to me it would be delivered only after Christmas, which means I'm not going to bother now. But be that as it may. So there's been a Nexus 4 teardown. Do we care about teardowns, or is that just too geeky?
Too geeky for me.
Too geeky. Okay, fine. Skip. All right. Do we have anything else from the Android and hardware world? Anything else you see? Gina, you look at those stories. Anything else that you or Lamar?
I think we're good.
Okay. So let's see. Should we go ahead and go to the other commercial with our partner, Leo?
Hey, boo-boo. It's a picnic basket. Hello, Ranger Jeff and Gina Trapani. How are you, new mommy? I am here in spirit to tell you about Ford Sync. I love my Ford Mustang. Yeehaw! It's a pony car. But I hate to say this, but I think I'm trading it in because I found a new love. I'm going to break up with the pony car. And because I want the new Fusion, the Energy, the 2013, it's just coming out. Fusion, I am so excited. Plug-in hybrid, right? So I love that. But the thing that's really important to me is the fact that the Fusion, like all of Ford's vehicles for 2012, 2013, can have Sync and My Ford Touch. And that is huge because I'm telling you, I will not buy a car unless I can listen, I can talk to it. That's my new standard. I need to be able to talk to my car. If you go to Ford.com/technology, you can find out more about the amazing Ford Sync voice command. Keep your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road. Look, it's not quite autonomous vehicles, but it feels like you're driving Knight Rider. It really does because it means so cool. You are totally controlling your music. You're calling. You're getting it to read text to you. You can even use iTunes tagging to say, I like this song. Remind me when I get home to buy it. Ford Sync with My Ford Touch is standard on the following Fusion models. Well, all of them. Oh, that's nice. You get the hands-free calling, the automatic phone book download from your Android, or I guess if you had an iPhone, it would work there too. Uninterrupted connections. Your call, this is actually, I don't talk about this enough, but when you're on a call and you get in the car, it just automatically transfers to the speakerphone. I do that all the time. And I'm actually glad that works because I forget. Audio streaming is fantastic and super high quality audio streaming. In some vehicles, you even get voice-activated radio tuning, so you can pick a station by voice. You can listen to entertainment on almost any device, voice control music, no matter how it's stored on your smartphone, a USB drive, any MP3 player. Just a big fan. And, of course, the sync navigation is sweet. The turn-by-turn directions, the 411 business search, the 911 assist, great for safety. You got to find out more. Here's the deal. Visit your Ford dealer and say, I want to test drive Sync. Or visit Ford.com/technology and find out what Sync can do for you. I am dead serious. I will not buy a car that does not have Ford Sync. I will not. It is just awesome. If you've got Sync with AppLink, you can actually voice control apps on your phone. That is sweet, too. Thank you, Ford, for your support of This Week in Google. We may not have self-driving cars, but at least we have self-listening music. Or something. Back to you, Jeff and Gina.
Hey, Leo, we cannot wait to see you again. All right, well, it would not be an episode of Twig without a paranoid, whinging moments from me worrying about the future of the internet and government threats to it. But I'm glad at least now I'm not alone because Google has stepped up, thank God, at last. And ahead of the ITU summit coming up in December, they're warning of the dangers to an open internet. And the ITU, as explained in one of the videos we have here on the rundown, is a very old government organization that was in charge of telephone numbers. And there are various efforts. There was a leaked report out of the Kremlin that Putin wants the UN and the ITU to take more direct control of the internet away from us, to centralize it more, to do all the things that are dangerous to the net. So Google put out a video of nice people just saying that a free net matters to us, and a free net matters to us, and a free net matters to us, which is fine, a little namby-pamby, but good as far as it goes. But they also put out a site where they want to have people sign up, if nothing else, as a matter of awareness, and say, yeah, a free net matters to us. Now, there are some who say that this ITU thing is not really a threat. But as far as I'm concerned, every time a government steps up, France, Germany, Russia, China, Iran, the United States of America, the UK, Australia, Canada, they've all recently put in more efforts to try to find more control over the net because the net threatens them. And by God, people, it's time for us to stand up. Am I ready for a march here?
I wonder if there's like a weariness. I wonder if the government, there's always just going to be these looming policies that are gonna hamstring the internet. I wonder if users are going to get tired of constantly having to, we had SOPA, which was amazing, right? And then but it feels like every month it's like, this is the new SOPA, right? There's another new thing. I actually thought that Google's video wasn't so great. I like the video on whatistheitu.org.
It's a better video, isn't it?
Better video, explains better what the ITU is. This is a weird thing. It's 11 days until this meeting where a bunch of government officials from different countries all vote on policies and regulations that would for the internet, right? And each country gets one vote, right? And this was like a secret meeting. The details of this meeting and the details of the policies they're voting on were leaked, right? This isn't something that people aren't. It's a little different than SOPA, right? I mean, I guess it's not so different in that we have to pressure our politicians to stand up for the internet, but it's it's one of those things where it's like, oh, again, we're in the middle of the holidays, of course, which I guess they schedule these things so that, they get less press. I mean, it worries me, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? People figure out workarounds for stupid policies.
Yeah, that's always what you do. That's always what you do, Ms. Hacker. You say, don't worry about it, Mr. Paranoid. We'll just find our way around it. And I pray for that. I wish for that. But I think if we don't deal with the worst case, and I always say, don't deal with the worst case. Don't restrict the internet because privacy, bad things could happen, right? So maybe I'm doing the same thing here of just worrying about what the government could do to the internet, but it really could. We see what happens in China and Iran. It really could.
we should worry about it, right? We should care. We should worry about it. And I don't mean to be for this to be a cop out, but even when I went to China, it was like, oh, you can't get to Facebook from here. I couldn't get to Twitter, but I figured out a way to tweet through a separate thing. It was a pain, and it stunk. But even you look at things like Weibo, right? Like that's their Chinese kind of Twitter. Stories get broken. I feel like with the forward march is toward openness, and that these are just kind of last-ditch attempts by people in power to change that. I don't know. Maybe should I not have this totally? I tend toward optimism, and you tend
Lamar,
toward.
Are you is your glass right now half empty or half full?
I don't have an opinion on this only because I haven't done enough research. I don't want to just blab out and just say anything, but
I'll tell you what to think easily. I have no problem doing that, Lamar.
Yeah, but in general, I mean, the idea of anything free and open, it sounds great. I just, before I jump in and say, yeah, let's do it, I want to read more on it, which I didn't get a chance to do, so I apologize.
All right. No, that's absolutely fair. Chad, I think about a minute into the ITU video, it starts to kind of say a little bit, what is the ITU? Do you want to just show 30 seconds of it? Or did I pop this on you again?
Telegraph old, as in Morse code. When founded in 1865, it was called the International Telegraph Union. Unlike the Internet, the ITU was not built on open discussions among scientists and engineers. Instead, only governments have a vote at the ITU, and these votes take place behind closed doors. If governments succeed in giving the ITU more power to make decisions about the Internet, we get an old-school, top-down, government-centric organization, replacing the open, bottom-up governance that made the Internet so world-changing. And that's just the beginning of our problems. The ITU is not transparent. The ITU's draft proposals aren't public, and it's one country, one vote model. It's governments.
What the ITU is and where it goes. Let me bounce around a little bit. I want to come back to Google and freedom in that, but related to this is that there was another alarm that went off. Matt Cutts sent me to the ITU thing originally, and there was another alarm that went off this week when Senator Leahy reportedly backed changes in a bill that was intended to give our email greater protection, and then turned the bill into the exact opposite, where it was going to allow 22 government agencies, including the Justice Department, to have warrantless access to not only our email, but also our Google Docs, also our Facebook walls, also our Twitter direct messages, not only without warrant, but without notice that this was happening. And it was the quickest furor I've ever seen. There was a furor within, I think, about 12 hours, and suddenly Leahy was backing away from it like it had cooties, which was a good thing, which is a great thing. But it does show that we do have the power, I think, to stop these things sooner. And I think this guy saw images of SOPA in his head and wanted to get away from it. Did you guys have any sense of this going on? Or was this over so fast?
That happened so fast that I missed it, and I'm glad that it happened because that is complete BS. That's complete BS, and so I'm glad that we have SOPA so that politicians can back away very quickly from anything that causes an uproar like that. I mean, that kind of thing is especially in Google's interest to take care of, right? And anybody who provides cloud services has to fight that kind of thing. And I think it's absolutely right for users to be absolutely outraged. And I'm feeling regretful about what I said earlier. I'm not saying that people should be apathetic about these things. We do need to care about these things. I think you do have to know.
You're absolutely right, Gina.
What governments are doing.
If we cry wolf too often, if we put up the cat signal too often, then when the real threat is there, we won't rally troops. So you're absolutely right to worry about that. That's why I don't know when we should and should not.
This part, Schmidt. There's a video. I hope I'm not jumping around too much, but there's a video in the rundown about. Schmidt was doing a little bit of a talk about government regulation and a few different topics. But he said something interesting about Egypt, which was that, when there was the demonstrations were happening in Egypt, people knew that they were happening. Just another demonstration, whatever. But it wasn't until the government shut off the internet that people were like, wait a second. Something's going on, and they did not side with the government. So
that was his interesting point. He said they realized they had a choice. And a lot of them chose the revolution at that moment. Yes. And that revolution happened, right? So, I mean, it's not too late when it happens, but it is one of those things where it's like, if one of these crazy, insane laws passed in the United States that censored sites, I just feel like people go bananas, and
that was part of Schmidt's
something would
point
change.
Too.
right? Schmidt said in this video, I think it was an interview for the RAND Corporation, and he said that Google's pinning a lot of hope on the internet becoming so integral to people's lives that they will not tolerate that happening.
Yes.
And so you just recognize how Google more and more, its interests are aligned with the internet. And the business model is very simple. Google said it very, very simply. The more people use the internet, the more money Google makes, period. So it's in Google's interest to have a free and open and widely used internet and to be able to do that. And so they are fighting for a principle that matters to us as well. Now, granted, when I promoted this effort against the ITU, a lot of people in comments on Twitter said, "Yeah, then how about their deal with Verizon?" And I agree. I can't stand what they did with Verizon, neutralizing net neutrality in a way. But yeah, when Schmidt talks about this stuff, I think he's eloquent and hopeful and has a point. He also said in the same video that parents should have the internet talk before they have the sex talk with kids. Which I think is a great way to look at it. But in line with this, there's a story that's related that Google is now, and very quietly, I didn't see a lot of coverage of this yet, but is pushing for a vast increase in the amount of Arabic content on the net, which I think is exactly what the strategy that you just said, Gina, is the more people use it, feel that it's vitally part of their lives and part of their society, the harder it's going to be for governments to turn it off.
Yes. Now, can we rewind a bit? As a new parent, that caught my eye. The whole you should have the internet talk with your kids before the sex talk. So you're a much more experienced parent than I am, Jeff. and also
only
I know
with things I've done wrong, Gina.
Well, and I know you have very strong opinions about publicness and privacy and the benefits of being public online. And, my daughter's only 2 months old, but I'm thinking about, how am I going to talk to her about when she gets online? How am I going to talk to her about the information that she shares? And, should I raise her being scared and being worried and having to use a pseudonym or fuzz her details or am I going to raise her with the idea that privacy is safer, right? I mean,
what do you think?
In a way, I feel like I need to do that because when she's 13, when she's 12, 13, 14, I don't want her publishing Instagram photos of her and her friends in their bikinis at the beach, because that freaks me out that there would be creepers, looking at my daughter, for example, right? But at the same time, I do want her to understand the benefits of publicness and the connections that you can make with people and the communities that you can tap into and the support and the resources that you can get, like you've talked about so many times with your illness and even just, takedowns of companies like Dell and that kind of thing, right? But when she's a child, it does feel like a matter of safety. So how do I teach her to be safe, but also appreciate the benefits of publicness? I don't know. I mean, what did you talk to your kids about?
I'm lucky because my son Jake, Facebook was not available for high school students until he was in high school. He was the first class that had Google and had Facebook in high school. Mark Zuckerberg was in the first class that had Google in high school, which was interesting. Jake was the first class to have Facebook, and they kind of set the rules, and they knew what they were doing, and it was still a closed world, right? Adults couldn't get in then. It was just high schools. It was younger people you couldn't quite get in yet. And he's sensible, and I think parents generally have to learn more than anything to trust their kids. My daughter doesn't really like doing it. Jake said you're going to have to in high school. She does, but she's not that much into it. So I don't really have this problem that I know of to deal with that. I think there's a surprise problem in Facebook, which is a surprise to me, which is that it's not so much what people reveal, it's that you end up comparing yourself to the idolized versions of other people's lives. Right? Yeah. So you see a version of the world, right, which can be good or bad. Then again, a colleague of mine said that when his daughter was, I think, in second grade or first grade, she was using the net, and a friend of hers said, search for boys kissing boys. Nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't all she got, obviously.
Yeah.
And we got really scared and came in, Mommy, what the heck is this vision of the world I haven't seen?
Right.
So, yeah, it's difficult, but I think in the end, there's a columnist, a former columnist I used to work with at the Daily News named Lenore Skenazy, who talks about raising free-range kids. And she's very controversial in New York because at an early age, she sent them out in the subway. And she said, they got to learn these things on their own, and they got to do this stuff. I'm tending to agree with that. I'm tending to think that we're raising children as veal.
Yeah.
And that's not my line, it's somebody else's, but too protected. Now, I'm not suggesting that we throw them out there in the world, but I do think we have to arm them with the judgment and tools to be able to deal with things, and we have to also arm them with the trust to have the judgment and be ready to talk about stuff for up until the age when they stop talking to you, Gina, which happens.
Right.
Lamar, what do you think? What's your advice to Gina?
Yeah, this is interesting because I don't know if you all knew, I used to be an elementary school teacher. So this was around the time where MySpace and Tag.com were coming up, and, the kids would, it was new, so they would post their inappropriate things there. And, one thing I never wanted to do, even though the school started to do it, schools will block things. I really wanted the kids to get the education of why they shouldn't, what's the reason behind it. And I think that's the most important part is that they're going to do it. I mean, now I'm not in teaching now, but to try to block the internet in schools is crazy now because they'll just flip up their phone and be on LTE doing what they're going to do. So you can't stop it. The best you can do is educate them on it. So, for Gina, maybe, as she gets older, coordinating with the school system so that there's a 1-2 punch on not saying, don't use the internet. It's scary, has creepers. So does walking to the subway. So does walking to a store to get something. There's creepers everywhere. You have to learn how to arm yourselves against that. But the most important part is the education of why it's a bad idea to put certain content out online, the ramifications of it. Even though, like Eric Schmidt said in the article, your criminal record gets wiped at 18. But, in the U.S., but not, your social life. That's an imprint that stays forever. So you just have to be more careful about it. So number one.
Gina, I think, as I think about it, I think the key word that I would think of if I were you is to teach her that she has control.
Yeah.
And that's the essential idea. And Dana Boyd talks about this a lot, that young people do worry about their privacy and that they have mechanisms to do it. As she puts it, they control meaning over just mere communication. And,
but here's the thing. If something goes viral, you don't really have control. If you post a picture somewhere, it doesn't go away. You might not have, if she posts something embarrassing, I worry about this as an adult. And heck, and I had the same problem as what you were saying earlier, seeing the idolized versions of other people's lives and becoming kind of a bit of a performer. Like these platforms sort of encourage you to perform some, idealized version of yourself to share with your friends. And I think those are all really interesting sort of effects of these platforms. But there isn't, this was Schmidt's point, right? That there isn't a delete button, that once you shared something
exactly
online,
right. I guess what I'm saying is the same thing. I'm agreeing. That there's a moment when she loses control, and that moment is when she exposes her moment, her real identity, her whatever, and that she should feel jealous control of those parts of her life, and they are hers to control. They're not even yours to control to some extent because she's going to do what she's going to do.
Right.
That she's got to realize that value. The problem is, children are not taught to look forward.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm all in favor of not allowing Facebook to 13-year-olds, right? But that's not the way the world works. Dana also found that the majority of 12-year-olds are on Facebook, and that 76% of their parents help them do that. Pew just had a survey that I haven't read yet, but I just saw it come out yesterday about privacy and kids, and parents are concerned. We know that, But I think to your point, Lamar, part of this becomes, and I'm being very idealistic here, but part of this becomes my belief that, and I've said it on the show before, where it's my theory of mutually assured humiliation, that at some point we become a more tolerant society when we realize that we all had embarrassing moments when we were young. So what? And if you're the person who rejects someone because they did something stupid 10 years ago, then you're the bozo, not the person who did the stupid thing.
But so let's talk about Zuckerberg. Remember when Mark was 19 or 20 years old, and he said that his users were idiots, Facebook users were idiots for sharing their information with him, right? And so now he's one of the richest people in the world and head of one of the most powerful internet companies in the world. Are you able to forget that he said that at that point? And I know he said, look, I was a kid, it was stupid, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, because he learned.
Still in my head, though, that at some point when he was making this thing, he said that to someone so carelessly, like, or I am. I forget what the quote, I think he just said, like,
but I also think that if that had stayed the essence of the culture of Facebook and the essence of his worldview, he would have failed. That he only could succeed if he learned and growed and matured enough to see where the value really was and where trust really was. And I think that it speaks to, because otherwise then we're a billion dupes. We're a billion idiots. And I don't believe that. I really don't. I believe that we're a billion people who use his platform and that he recognizes the value of that and that he could learn the lesson. And I think, if you look at any major executive and try to go back into their career when they were that age, they were dopes.
Right.
Dopes. One of them, surely.
Right. I'm suspicious of things that Facebook does, especially around privacy, and partially because that story is stuck in my head, and partially because there was a major motion picture made about what he, whatever, that was not representative of reality, but that stuff gets kind of stuck in your consciousness. I mean, I think Facebook has made such a compelling product that a billion people use it, but I don't know. That's still kind of in my head. So it's interesting. I mean, I want to be enlightened to the point where I can say, hey, God knows I have plenty of stupid things that I did when I was 20 years old that I'd be embarrassed to be, public, or, that I wouldn't want people to judge me on now. But I do want to get to that place where we just say, hey, you know what? Anything that happened before you were 20 or before you were 25, before you were 30, let's get crazy. Doesn't count.
Yeah, that line moves, doesn't it, Gina?
It does.
Then when you get up to where my age is, of course, it's because I'm old and feeble that I do stupid things. So it's okay. You get the excuse back. Let's go on to a few other topics because we got a whole bunch of legal stuff that I kind of want to go through with some dispatch so we can get on to some other things. But there's so much happening this week around both Google and around some legal and legislative matters. I got into a debate in the UK. I happened to tune in to a hearing that was held by the Finance Committee of the Parliament in the UK, led by a woman named Margaret Hodge, where she was just eviscerating Google and also Starbucks and Amazon, arguing that they weren't paying their fair taxes and that they were using havens in Ireland and Bermuda, and this was awful, and so on and so forth. And the Google guy, I think, kept saying as best he could, we're just doing what's legal. And she said, it's legal, but it's immoral. And so I had fits on Twitter saying this is ridiculous. Do you MPs voluntarily pay more taxes? What's Google to do is to decide their own tax rate and what they think what should be considered fair. And then what do they do that in every country in the world? Every country wants a piece of their skin. So the Observer, that is to say the Guardian Sunday paper, had me do a debate with her online. We'll put it up on the rundown. But it's a fascinating and very emotional issue, especially in Europe, where there are fights around taxes. Here in the U.S., we wish that Google would bring more of its revenue onshore. They're not paying taxes on some of the revenue. Overseas, they're saying, well, we're mainly an American company. That's why we don't pay a lot of it here. A lot of our real value is in America. Clearly, every country wants their piece of the pie. Speaking of which, France has just outright sent a bill to Google for $2 billion, saying you just owe this because you owe it, because you're not doing things the way you should, even though the things that Google is doing, they have lots of lawyers, are illegal. What do you guys think?
First, I want to say about your article. I read it and I laughed because you and I are so alike in that you smashed her. You did, because there was just nothing she said after what you said made any sense after that. Because when we all do our taxes, what happens? We'll do whatever it takes to get a deduction or a tax break, and so that's all these companies are doing. They're within the law. And when you mentioned about looking it up on the Bible, I was just done. I was like, okay, Jeff knows how to argue. So,
see, I was shooting fish in the barrel, Lamar.
I know, but you were right. It's what that country allows. So if you want to change it, like you told her, well, go and change the law. That's what you do. That's your job. If you don't like it, change it. Otherwise, hush. I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed. I thought that the larger point, right, is that this is sort of our reckoning, the global marketplace, sort of reckoning with the future, what business, how business runs now, and it's tough. Like I agree, Jeff, that you won that debate. I could see how you were saying, why would a company voluntarily pay more taxes, and she was saying, we're not asking you to voluntarily, we're just asking you to pay local taxes, but of course the laws exist that everything that Google is doing sort of is legal. So the issue is that they have to change the laws. So that's not possible, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's a really interesting debate, and it really is just about like our legal infrastructure, international legal infrastructure, allowing for the kinds of businesses and the kind of global marketplace that we have now. And laws take longer to catch up to technology, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, and also it's not just about that. And when I go to Europe, I see this, and this will get me in trouble with folks in our international audience. But I sense that there's kind of, in some circles, not all circles, but in some circles, there's two other forces. There's a bit of anti-Americanism going on. Oh, and another big American company. And there's a little bit of, it's not anti-capitalism, but anti-big company, anti-corporate think there. And so that if you're this big successful company, you're such a target. Speaking of which, now there's been talk in both the EU and the US of going after Google for antitrust. So that was the report going into the rundown. And then this morning there was a piece up on Bloomberg that said that the U.S. government is now wavering on the idea of going after Google for antitrust. Not sure that they've really found a consumer harm, not sure that they found anything wrong. And this is in the vertical search areas. This is in the idea that they benefit their own stuff. And so reportedly, the FTC really wanted to go after Google. John Leibovitz was hankering for that. But says one report in Bloomberg, no, they're not doing anything illegal or anything wrong, and there's no consumer harm. We've had this discussion a little bit on the show before. Do you think that going after Google for antitrust is a worthy investigation or a witch hunt?
I always tend to think that going after a big company and investigating what they're doing is that's not a battle that I'm like usually willing to fight, because you know Google's got plenty of money, they got plenty of power, they got plenty of lawyers, and they'll be able to work it out. I think that it's important for us to kind of question what big companies are doing, big powerful companies are doing, and you know I don't think it's a witch hunt. I think it's a healthy thing to question that. Just from the standpoint of like if you're gonna go after anybody, I think it's the people with the armies of lawyers and tons of money that they're kind of worth questioning. I know that people see them as a big target, but I think it's just kind of a healthy part of the system to. Is
that the price of success? I mean, just is there an arc to the story that if ever you become successful, then you become suspect? Is that a necessary? You really think so? Oh.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
It happened with Microsoft, and it's happening with Google. There's talks of wanting to break them up into different sections. So yeah, that's the price you paid, and kind of sucks. If you want to build a big business, you're going to get attacked as hard as this, and I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, the problem is then if you don't want to live with that kind of hassle in life, then it's moderation to an extreme, isn't it? It's just saying, okay, I don't want to grow that big. I don't want to go public. I don't want to grow that big. I want to stay small. Then you limit the kind of growth you can have. If you automatically become suspect, it's kind of the belief that, Siva Vaidyanathan kind of says corporations must be evil. Is that what you're saying, Gina? Would you go that far?
Corporations, no, I wouldn't say that corporations must be evil, but I think it's very easy for them to become evil. I think it's just important I think in general, it's important for people to question both companies and people who are very wealthy and very powerful, pretty much all not all the time, but whenever there's a question, the question should be asked. Google, they're going to be okay. They're going to be able to fight their fight. They're not, I'm not worried about them. I don't know. Maybe am I being too? I think it's important to question those in power in general.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I certainly say it about government all the time. When I gave a talk about public parts in Germany before I wrote the book, and I talked about the German paradox, somebody said, "What about the American paradox? That you Americans have good government more than we've had, but you distrust government more than we do. And maybe that's why we have better government. And maybe the same can be argued about companies. Though note that Google, by this one report, may be on a road away from antitrust. The other good news for Google this week is that Hamburg in Germany has decided not to prosecute based on the data collections on Street View, saying there was no criminal intent. So,
no harm and no criminal intent.
One more legal thing, and then we'll move on back to Geek World, but there's just so much legal stuff, is a fascinating moment this week where the Republican Research Council, I think it's called, released a very brief white paper on copyright that was just so unbelievably sensible and smart and said that, copyright was not really, there are myths about copyright. It wasn't just intended to remunerate creators. It was intended to improve and increase creativity and innovation, and that it's gone on too long, and that we need these following reforms. And it was a great thing. And then you could know exactly what happened, which was that Hollywood got their claws into Republican lawmakers, and the report was pulled offline, though Lauren Weinstein, God bless him, managed to cash it before it got put there. And I found it to be a fascinating moment where the RSC said that we take pride in providing informative analyses, but this thing just kind of didn't go through proper channels. I don't believe that for a second. I think that it got out there, and then Hollywood went berserk. So I recommend reading Lauren's caching of the old document, because I think it's from the Republicans, and it's a good, even so is my tone, my presumption here. Even so, it's I think a very sensible and very good view of copyright. Did either of you have a chance to look at the original?
I didn't.
I didn't, but so much for Eric Schmidt saying that we shouldn't be a society of information leakers. I mean, in some cases, it really it's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's enough legal stuff and danger signs as we head toward home base, whatever. I keep on messing it up. I'm not doing a sports thing.
Home stretch.
Home stretch. That's what it is. Home stretch. Why don't we do the trick that Leo had us do a couple weeks ago, and each of us round robin pick out a story that I've missed here in the rundown. Lamar, you want to start?
I thought the story about the YouTube app and the Nintendo Wii was pretty cool, because it's the first time they're widely pushing out the WebM video codec. So it's supposed to be cleaner, simple interface. It's funny that the Wii is the only console that's out there that hasn't had YouTube on there. So it's great to see. It looks good. I have not played with the Wii U. I might do that tonight at a friend's house just to see how it is.
That's your audience, right? That's your peeps.
Yeah. It's like I guess what I would ask you all is this: if you have a console, do you watch YouTube on it? I have a very hard time watching YouTube on my 47-inch. I'd rather watch it on my phone or on the desktop. Vice versa, I can't watch Hulu on my desktop. It irritates me. I feel like I have to
Gina, who actually has Google TV.
Yeah. I do. I actually have Google TV. I've started to use YouTube's watch later function. So while I'm working, I come across videos I want to see later. I hit watch later, and then when I'm feeding the baby on my Google TV, I just bring up my watch later list, and it just cycles through it. So I have been watching videos on my big screen just because the YouTube app on Google TV is actually pretty nice. I can't watch videos, like entertaining videos, kind of at my desk while I'm in work mode, because it just feels, I feel kind of trapped. Like, I'm in this weird different mode. So I enjoy watching on the big screen. But only because of Google TV. I've never used. I don't even know if there's an app for Xbox, which is the console I have.
There is. Yeah, it's just like for Hulu. I can't stand watching it on my desktop. I need to be laying down on my couch or bed in that relaxation. I still haven't parted from the TV yet, so maybe I need help. I don't know, but I haven't transitioned yet.
Gina, a story you want to pick out?
Just sort of quick story. Apple's having a Black Friday sale. Have they ever done this before?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Apple never does this kind of thing. I mean, I didn't think that they ever had sales, period, really. I thought the price was the price was the price. But yeah, if you go to apple.com, it says there's a one-day shopping event. It looks like it's if you shop online or in a retail store. And I've been kind of having this, not argument, but this little debate about Black Friday amongst my geek friends. And in fact, Lamar tweeted in on it at some point where I was saying, at this time of year, every gadget tech blog does some sort of rant about how Black Friday is stupid and the deals aren't really good and all the people camping out outside the Best Buy are dumb and whatever. And I find that kind of interesting. I think I said something like, it's easy to rant about Black Friday when you can afford to buy everything at full price. And people like deals because they're strapped. And which conversation went from there. I don't know. Everyone's got a different opinion about Black Friday, but it looks like you can get some deals on Apple stuff just by shopping online. So it's interesting. It felt like a departure from Apple's general retail strategy.
Yeah,
by the way, if you go to blackfriday.com, you can see the Black Friday circulars for major Best Buy, Walmart, Sears, Dell, all those places right now and know what it is you're going to get. And, of course, a lot of that you can get online now.
Mm-hmm. Someone that Curtis B in the chat room says Apple has had them for a couple of years now. It's interesting. I thought this seemed new to me, but the savings aren't that great. Usually like $100 for a laptop.
Okay, I noticed that in the Best Buy you can get a Samsung 7-inch tablet, which is not unlike the Nexus 7 for $179, which is a pretty damn good price. Lamar, you were going to say, sorry.
It's fine. I wonder if people are thinking like me, like if you just bought a new iPad or iPad Mini, would you really go through all the trouble to take it back and then as soon as they give you the receipt and the refund, okay, I want to buy it back again at the discount. See, because I really want to do that just to irritate them.
I think most stores with a decent policy will let you bring in the receipt and get the lower price. I think Apple has done that when they've lowered prices. I think. I could be wrong. Don't check me on that. All right, I'll give you one story and then we'll do our closing bits. I found it interesting. Cory Booker, who's the mayor of Newark, and full disclosure, I'm an advisor to Waywire, which is the company he helped start. During Sandy, he was absolutely incredible on Twitter. My wife pushed me to make sure to subscribe to him. He's always pretty amazing on Twitter, but during Sandy, he was quite amazing, where he gets out in Newark, he gets around the town. People would tweet him with problems. He would tell people where to drop off things. He's just really, really quite remarkable. Well, he got into a fight on Twitter about the cost of food and food stamps, this and that. And he took a challenge where he's going to live on food stamps for a week. With whoever was challenging him on Twitter. He figures it's about $4 a day in food cost. And this all happened on Twitter, and he's going to do it on Twitter. And it's really pretty amazing to watch a politician live that publicly among his constituents using these tools. And I just love it.
He's going to be president.
He's amazing. Yeah,
he's trying to decide now whether to run for governor or senator from New Jersey, and we'll see what happens. Chris Christie did himself pretty well, and I'm a Democrat, but he did himself pretty well in the storm. And I think GOP has been making a fool of themselves, criticizing him for talking to the president before the election. But Christie had to call Murdoch to kind of apologize for being nice to Clinton. I mean, to Obama. But yeah, Booker's got a future, and he's building himself a good history. All right. So, shall we move to, Gina, your tip of the week?
Yes, let's do it. This is a really cool little site. I don't think Google built this. I think this is a third-party thing. It's qsview.com, Instant Google Street View. So it's just a black page with an input box. You type in an address, any address, and as you type, it sort of automatically teleports you to the Google Street View image of that place. This sounds really kind of simple and whatever. It's actually really fun and addictive. You just start typing an address. It zooms you right there, and kind of as you type. So you can kind of try, you go from one place to another as it kind of figures out what location you're putting in.
That's what's so cool about it, because you see surprise, serendipitous places as you go.
Yeah. And for places where they have indoor street view imagery, air quotes, like the White House, like if you just type in the White House, you just wind up like standing in the White House, the Red Room in the White House. It's kind of amazing. That works for the Museum of Modern Art. It works for the Osaka Aquarium, like the Madrid Zoo. But places where it doesn't have indoor imagery, it just kind of takes you right down to that street. So I had so much fun with this, just sort of visiting places in New York that I miss. So it's qsview.com. Just
is that the White House bookshelf there?
Yeah,
that was.
I want to see if my book's on it. I sent him a copy. Lamar, you want to join in here with a tip, tool, number, thing, whatever?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I would have is just it's about YouTube, since that's kind of what I do. There's millions of people on there to watch, obviously, and many of you all watch without being in your account, so you can like or comment or whatever. And I guess for me as a producer or content creator, I would just ask that, hey, if you have some favorite people that you like on YouTube, subscribe to them and support. It's not so much of an ego boost for me. It's giving you notification of when myself or anyone else puts out content that you enjoy. And then like on your Google TV or on these other boxes, that you can go right into your subscriptions and watch those people versus – I like Gina. I like your method of the watch later, but this kind of sidesteps that, where you can just get the people that you actually want to see. So subscribe to your favorite YouTube people, and preferably me first. I won't say no to that.
Give Lamar a reason for Thanksgiving. All right, so my number of the week. Speaking of Thanksgiving, Google put up a Think with Google put up a PowerPoint about data on people searching around Thanksgiving and food. It's actually surprisingly sexist because all it talks about is moms, as if dads and people who are neither don't cook. Really odd to come from Google, I thought. No offense to you moms, and I don't cook because believe me, I'd poison you if I did. Nonetheless, I thought it was odd. But still, it said that 55% of shoppers who use the phone in the store look up coupons there, which I think is vital for where advertising goes. 36% look up recipes and trending searches at Thanksgiving time. By the way, there are 78 million recipe searches in the week before Thanksgiving. It is the huge spike in recipes. I was privileged to be around for the beginnings of Epicurious, and Thanksgiving was the killer time for us. But trending searches last year around this time included turkey brine, turkey croquettes, and puppy chow recipe.
Puppy chow.
So that's it. I'm going to hand us back over to the warm and wonderful hands of our co-host, the hostess, Gina Trapani, to wish us all a happy Thanksgiving and move us out. Gina.
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. This has been a really good show, Jeff. You did an amazing job of moving us along in the middle, and Lamar, it was really great to have you back on the show. Everyone should go to youtube.com/Lamar Wilson, 1M, 2 R's, right now, and press the subscribe button. Everyone should do that right now. Thank you so much for being with us, Lamar. Is there anything else that you wanna promote besides your YouTube channel, or that's you? That's our connection to you.
I wouldn't say no to some extra Twitter followers. I'm on Twitter pretty actively, and it's Lamar Wilson as you see down there. And that's a video of me playing there. Okay, that's a thing.
Awesome.
You see, YouTube adds 10 extra pounds to you, so that's that's sexy. That's okay. So yeah, if you like to follow me and follow a sexy guy, be sure to click. Which now no guys.
Twitter.com/Lamar Wilson there's one good header photo going on there. I love it. And Jeff Jarvis, my trusted co-host, really good to see you. Author of Public Parts. What would Google do? What are you up to this Thanksgiving, Jeff? You're not cooking, but you're.
We don't like turkey. We're contrarian as a family, so my wonderful wife is doing roast chicken. What about you? What are you doing?
Very nice. I'm cooking. I'm brining tonight. I'm cooking. Although I don't know, Serious Eats did this kind of showdown of the salting versus the brining. So we got to figure out the salting versus the brining. And I'm going to the movies tonight because there are babysitters in town, which is going to be wonderful. So to everyone in the United States, have a very happy Thanksgiving, good Turkey Day. And we will be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern with Leo. Leo will be back in the studio, thank goodness. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks, everyone.